Alright, I'm going to start a video project. I'm going to be making the Helldivers Hellwhiner review. It's been an idea of mine for about 3 months now, because the online Hellwhiner joke is one of my favorites. You're on a tripod. Oh well. I would like to be able to put B-roll and a bunch of other really nice aesthetic things along, but as an individual currently living out of his car, as of like 3 months ago, a bunch of other weird roller coastery things that have occurred in life, I don't really have the free time to sit down and edit in B-roll, even though I do have Malevolon Creek footage, which would be pretty cool. But as rumor mill has it, the conversation is it's July 17th, I believe. My Steam Deck just did another update. I played for about an hour and a half, and I went, woohoo, time to go to work, because I'm overwhelmed as normal. And, I don't know, there's just some aspects of Helldivers 2 that's amazing. And then I turned around and got Helldivers 1, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good! And then Helldivers 2, it's really, really enjoyable, and it's totally worth the $40 for having 3 different enemy factions to be able to deal with. I think they'd make a lot more sales if it was just 30 instead of 40. But it's just one of those kind of things where it's not the game I bought. I bought this game, I think it's been about a year. I played Malevolon Creek and a few others. I think I got it 2 months after launch. And it's not the game that I paid for. And the other thing that's really startling too is like the difficulty settings and the difficulty principle of it just doesn't exist. Level 1 to level 9, the enemies are all the same, it's just a different spawn rate, and that's not how first-person shooters difficulty principle was originally supposed to be. But you know, Helldivers wants to be like, oh, we're a live action game, live service, we do this in community portrayal, blah 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 blah. But then they had the invasion of the Illuminate on Super Earth, and all of a sudden the Chinese player base comes swelling forward and go, we're gonna save everything, this, that, and the other. And the percentage of the city falling to the enemy was down to like 68%, and all of a sudden the Chinese player base surged out of nowhere, because the last city to fall was one of the cities in China renamed. I don't remember which city in China it is. But the Chinese player base came back, and they got the percentage bar all the way up to 98% saved, and then it just stopped. For a full 3 hours, it was moving fluidically, and then it just stopped moving for an entirety of like, what, 7 hours? And then all of a sudden the game developers are just like, ooh, Super Earth is saved, everybody won, congratulations, good job, you saved multiple cities, and then everybody like in the actual forums is like, oh, okay, so obviously this one city was supposed to be what was supposed to be the only thing that was victorious, and it was supposed to be close victory, blah 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 blah. But it just shows that community interaction game effects isn't exactly there. So anyhow, the too long didn't watch version of this video for the most part is Helldivers 2 is a fantastic game. It is a wonderful breath of fresh air for the first-person shooter genre, and it is a awesome aspect of having a single game format with 3 enemy factions, and each faction is a different type of tactical interaction and a different type of opponent, and there are things that you have to learn, weak spots that you need to acknowledge, this, that, and the other, and then they keep nerfing the weapons to be able to make it so it's more of a struggle situation for the game base. They then turn around and go, oh, what's that, players? You like this, this, and this? Time to nerf this, and these things over here, we're going to nerf them too, just for good measure. And so, as people have been saying very accurately in the community, it's kind of a flip-flop back and forth. You have the war bond that's active, and they publish a new war bond, the community comes back, celebrates the new war bond, goes, ooh, new things to play with, and then the patch between war bonds comes out, a bunch of things get over-nerfed, and the community walks away and stops playing, and then a new war bond comes out, and the community comes back and goes, woo, new toys! And it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And you know, the whole different review capes. So that was really, really fun and amusing. Anyhow, I will be back for my next clip here in just a minute. I've got to figure out where I am currently doing DoorDash. I'm on my highway. Gotta go figure out where I'm doing my next dispatch location. So, let's start with the first-person shooter environment of Helldivers 2. It has a series of difficulty multipliers, which is kind of interesting to me, and the bouncing reticle is the only thing that I find really unnecessary because of how much difficult the enemies are in this game. Most first-person shooters, this is making an acknowledgement of the fact that Arrowhead Studios created their first-person shooter with Helldivers 2. They've never really developed certain genres of games before because their first game for Helldivers 1 was a sky view overhead, moving around the character and then shooting in a line from said character. Doing first-person shooter, usually the dynamics of difficulty are your character is moving through the environment. The crosshair is going to move up and down, side to side, depending on the terrain your character is moving on. Then you have your joystick or your mouse and the movements of looking around with your character. And then you have to pace match that, which the way the enemy is running, zigzagging, strafing towards you, coming towards you, or what it is. And then, when you get used to certain mechanics, you can get used to moving your character in a direction while moving your crosshair in another direction and lining up a shot in movement. Helldivers 2, you have enemies that are sprinting about 4 times faster than normal. The automaton bots are moving in a pattern that is constantly strafing. The bugs are moving in erratic patterns and behaviors to the point that there is programming that when your crosshair comes across a certain 3 different species of these bug enemies, the bug is programmed to jump out of the way. The bug can jump out of the way 3 times consecutively, and then that ability has to cool down. But most players don't know that. Most players go, oh shit, this one jumps away, and try aiming for something else. And so then it cools down. So then, as you fire, so anyhow, the reticle in Helldivers 2 is you have your crosshairs, which is where the bullet's supposed to go, and you have a little circle. The circle bounces with the recoil of you shooting. So now, the difficulty of the first-person shooter environment for Helldivers 2 is not at all like any other first-person shooter, because the Illuminate can stun lock you, and then they just simply teleport by 2 feet, casually. The bugs are programmed to leap out of the way, and the robots, actually, yeah, they'll casually just march straight into you, so I guess the robots don't dodge that enthusiastically, but they're shooting back at you. So, I enjoy it. I really do, except for the times where there are enemies that don't make any noise at all around me, and all of a sudden I'm focusing on the swarm of things in front of me, and 2 objects got behind me and I'm dead. So, I personally find the bouncing reticle annoying as shit, and if it bounced just a little bit less, I would actually be satisfied. Being a game mechanic is very unique, and I like it. I really do. It annoys the shit out of me. Yeah, that's one of the things that really does stand out about Helldivers 2, and I actually do appreciate the bouncing reticle, but it is a difficulty multiplier that is extremely, extremely annoying. Then we turn around and look at some of the idea of a live service game. Having played Dungeons & Dragons, there's a good analogy actually. I played Dungeons & Dragons in the past, and I had a dungeon master once that put all the characters in a prison cell, and we were knocking a pair of keys to each other, trying to get the keys into somebody else's hands to be able to unlock the cell, and he outright told us we had to roll a d20. If you understand the odds of rolling a d20, that's one thing. Understand the odds of having 8 different players and that dice being passed around, trying to all roll a d20. And I got fed up and angry really fast because of how much it was suddenly, we're not playing You did an intro segment that was literally us rushing through, bopping people on the head, got around this, that, and the other, and then we faced the big bad guy, and all of a sudden we're in a dungeon and we're at the very beginning of the game. And suddenly it's just, you need to roll a d20 to be able to get out of this cell for the plot to continue. Helldivers has a dungeon master. And the dungeon master continually seems to be an individual who is actively changing certain parts of programming, buffing and nerfing weapons just to toy with certain aspects of the user base while claiming that it's under the principle of balance. It's claimed by the community that it's only like 2 people. I really think it's a team of like 6. And they're communicating with one another, they're paying attention to what the community likes to use regularly, and then they're changing things specifically so there's not a meta. So there's not a loadout that everyone chooses because it's the best. And to solve that, they added more and more war bonds, and I like the war bond program, and I like the fact that you can earn in-game currency. I don't find it worth buying any of them anymore, specifically because each war bond doesn't even follow through with its theme. The one thing that's really interesting is vehicle skins and vehicle and pod skins and dropship skins, as well as the Pelican. They all have skins. Not all the war bonds have skins. I still don't understand why Arctic Rangers doesn't have white vehicle, white Hellpod, and white Pelican paint. Still don't understand why the past war bonds haven't been gone back to and updated with more things as more programming has been added to the game. It just seems negligent to me. That's the war bonds. Player base and game interactions, pretty good actually. The fact that PvP exists is pretty fun. We blow each other up accidentally, we apologize to one another, and from time to time we go, hey man, let's just botch this entire match. The rule of thumb is, if you're within 300 feet of the hell pod you popped out of, no one can engage with you. Otherwise, everyone can have fun as long as everyone is a good distance from one another. And yeah, it's some pretty good PvP moments. Overall, as a whole, I think the idea of a game master needs to be addressed, and more community dynamic needs to be introduced. Or, on the other hand of it, all of the programming we've seen teased, we've seen skins of the Illuminate, which is really one of those weird things. We got this leaked skin of this overly bulky behemoth Illuminate with 2 tentacles on either side, and that was a leak. A month later, we get these biomass things that are basically like 6 arms on either side, flopping around and such. But if you pay attention to the way they move, they exactly have the same programming as the enemies with the large tentacles, to the point that if you pay attention to when the biomass charges, it'll knock other zombies to the side around when it doesn't have the distance of the radius to be able to interact with those objects. The tentacle monster programming is still there even though they removed the tentacles in the name of presenting to the user base something that hasn't been leaked. But most gamers, in what is supposed to be a reusable arcade format, which I'll address that here in a moment too, is we don't care about aesthetics and things leaked or non-leaked. We just want playability that's stable. Alright, gotta go check something with my job. I'm doing DoorDash and delivery, and then I'll be back in a moment. So, one of the things I actually do have a slight complaint about, however, that's a proper complaint with this whole kind of half-done video. Helldivers 2 kind of missed the structural mark of an arcade shooter, and the whole idea of it being a live service, active, dynamic game that's fluidically moving doesn't really fit what they built. And so, referencing Helldivers 1, the game mechanics were, you would go to your ship's crew capsule, and you'd set up the mission where you'd want to go, and in the select map section, the warfront would be a series of different little locations, and progressively the combat location moved from Super Earth in the middle of the map outwards to the exterior of the map, to the enemy faction's home world, and then victory. And then you'd have to go fight on other faction maps until all of the 3 factions were defeated, and the whole global map would reset, and everything would start all over again. So in Helldivers 1, this works specifically because the map biome that you are fighting on, there's only some 14 to 15 different types of maps. And so there's 14 to 15 different types of pieces and foliage and biomes to be able to build a map. And it's a top-down overhead sky view, so it's not that difficult. Helldivers 2, what they ended up doing, which worked, is they created a series of biome planetary bodies, and then they had the maps, and then they just simply published the entirety of the galactic map accessible all at once, and then there's certain hubs and certain individual planets that you can fight on. And this has kind of stagnated the idea of the war progression because people can't agree on what planet they want to fight on. I've really wanted to fight bugs on Malevelon Creek for a long time now. To explain this properly, when I bought the game, when it had only been out for around 3 months or so, there were only 5 planets. There was the desert plateau planet with the large spires above you that you'd have to navigate around. There was the desert Mars-like planet that had the fire tornadoes. There was the tundra map that was basically like an extremely sunny beach with basically sandstorms which would mess up your vision. And then there was the nocturnal, not an actual night map, but it was dark, and I can't really think of good descriptive terms. When the tropical island map with all the palm trees and all the water area that you have to climb through came out, everyone celebrated. And then another, the rainforest. Can't really think of. It's like it's full of moss. It's the one where the tree cover is so dense that you can't see more than like 40 feet ahead of you, and you have to just keep zigzagging back and forth between trees. When that came out, that was really nice. And it came out in purple, and the Malevelon Creek hues, and everyone was freaking out. And I remember, I remember finding the Malevelon Creek map on bugs, and I'm like, this is really nice. This is very scenically enjoyable. The arcade shooter principle is you're able to queue up the interaction of the gameplay you would like. You have a timer to interact with said gameplay, and said gameplay is repeatable. With Helldivers, you can go past the timer. The timer is of a good scaling, but you don't have any promise of having a quick 20-minute game. Every match in Helldivers is a minimum of an hour, and that's specifically because you have to wait for the server lag to get you into the map as well. The replayability is functional, but only as long as the map is accessible. And every time they change planets, well, you get to play in a whole different area and biome. And the other part, are you kidding me? Recording this while driving wasn't the best of idea. The other part that, I don't think Helldivers got properly as a whole is the fact that you only get 4 stratagems, and those stratagems have a dynamic timer cooldown, and eventually you end up running out of all of your abilities, and you're just getting stuck eaten. There's the replayability. You're just getting stuck eaten by bugs. All of your abilities and cooldowns are down as 2 squads of bots come marching straight up to you. And apparently the Illuminate's getting their mind control enemy unit sometime within the next 2 months. So when you're fighting the Illuminate, your character's just going to glow blue, and all of a sudden you're going to be aiming wildly and that I'm aware basically down is going to be up, left is going to be right, A is going to be B, and B is going to be A. And I don't look forward to that as someone who's not good playing by controller. I feel bad for whoever's playing on keyboard and mouse, though. Because, like, they're going to skew all of your numbers all they want. But it's fun. It's fun. It's really, really fun, but I don't like how much it's like, I'd like to go on a hell dive. I don't have an hour. Shit. Alright, time to go play Fallout 76. Woo! Because that's my other first-person shooter that I've been playing. I've been playing Helldivers and Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is a wonderful open-world adventure-basis MMO, and Helldivers is an awesome jump into a map slaughterhouse roulette. But it's changed since I bought the game. There are opponents and creatures on level 2 that weren't on level 2. I think the one thing that's really, really daunting is like how many times people are just like, oh, we love Arrowhead so much, you need to remember this isn't a power fantasy game, ooh. It's like, yeah, right, but on level 1 when this game first came out, it was. On level 1, when this game first came out, was the exact same spawn rate as level 9. Level 10 didn't exist. As a matter of fact, the difficulty difference was the health pool. And then they realized, as a studio, that instead of making a variety of different statted bugs, you can just make the difficulty level being the spawn rate. And now level 1's boring as fuck. And level 3 destroys you if you don't pay attention to every tiny thing. And then they remove the audio quality for some of the enemies. So now the enemies can just sneak right up on behind you. So you have to constantly pop open your mini-map and disable your mini-map, or you can't use your character. And I don't know. I like Helldivers 2 a lot. It's just that they really, really did miss the mark on the principle of quick time replayability. And they designed and created a slugfest that's a 1 hour minimum gameplay. And, you know, there's people who have jobs, there's people who have lives, there's people who have responsibilities, and so those people get to play Helldivers once or twice a week. And, you know, we don't get dynamic progression because, you know, the war bonds. The war bonds actually are a big, good job. It's not a battle pass, they don't expire. And as more war bonds are manufactured, there's more validity and enthusiasm to, you can pay money or you can play in game to earn game currency. The issue is, to me, that they're missing the mark with the fact that they're putting in more programming and they're expanding more capabilities of the game, and they're not going back to previous war bonds and adding more things. The Arctic Warriors, or Arctic whatever it's called, the one of the first war bonds that they published has a full white aesthetic, has a couple really nice armor sets and some equipment that's enjoyable. But the one thing that I'm just kind of surprised on is the fact that, like, the studio hasn't gone back and added a white health pod paint color. They haven't gone back and added white exosuit and exoskeleton armor. They haven't gone back and added white vehicle armor paint. They haven't gone back and added white aesthetics for the aesthetic quality pieces that are in the other war bonds. And if they went back, Arrowhead Studios, and refilled out some of these war bonds and made aesthetics for the vehicles and all these other things, they'd get more purchases. Because there's a good deal of players who play specifically for aesthetics. And that's just a stereotypical expectation of gaming communities. Alright, gonna click some buttons and clock back into my toggle here. Let's see, have I covered everything that I'd like to cover? Because I've been recording small little segments over the whole day. I'm very proud of Arrowhead Studios. They've done a really good job. They've created some really, really great mechanics and some really fun gameplay. It's just, it's not tuned for the common man. I keep seeing, and it keeps looking like the game keeps being adjusted, tuned, and balanced for YouTubers, Twitch players, and content creators. And that's their career. And there's a lot of people who want to be able to play leisure games, and that's not what they do for a living. And so creating these, I think the word's echelons of mountains you must climb to be able to unlock the most smallest of aspects of the game is just unnecessary. I think with the amount of war bonds that are out there, the price point for entering the game should be dropped to $30. And I think the war bonds need to be reassessed and readdressed. And the other thing that's really interesting is people have been talking about wanting a minigun, and the newest war bond does have a gun that has a minigun turret barrel on the front of it. And, you know, fantastic, awesome, wonderful. It's just the fact that the only thing that looks actually really nice in this war bond is the portal backpack that jumps you forward and allows you to solo the bunkers for being able to farm the resources and the currency. So what this game is developing into is pay this money to get basic accessibility and then spend $10 on these really nice things that are just enjoyable little fluff to gameplay, and this one item from War Bond that is exactly what you're buying the War Bond for. There's one War Bond that's for the pocket nuke, sorry, the backpack nuke. There's a War Bond that's for the, I still can't believe there's a poison gas War Bond that is specifically for getting the stim pistol for you to be able to heal your allies. Which is still one of those things that, like, there's a rotating cash shop. The stim pistol should be in the rotating cash shop, and we should get a more acid-themed item to replace that pistol, but whatever. What was the tangent of the statement I was just saying? I lost my train of thought. I'm an ADHD human. Overall, as a whole, Helldivers I would suggest to purchase, but Helldivers is not something that I'm going to purchase the war bonds for, or any of the accessory bits, specifically because while they're wonderful that they would expire, the fact of the matter is they're just beginning to look like nothing but aesthetic fluff, except for Democratic Detonation. I love that war bond so much for the explosive power ordinances that it gives you. I believe Helldivers really needs to stop the idea of being a live service productive game, and they need to just publish whatever the studio develops when the studio develops it. Specifically because the aesthetics of the illuminate tentacle creature that I mentioned earlier in the video are a lot more pleasing than the flesh mob. And it's fine, we can have them both. We can have both. Why not both? We can totally have both. But the fact of the matter is, the studio created something from scratch to be able to cover a leak, which was unnecessary. The studio is doing its first foray into creating a first-person shooter, to the point of creating one of the first ever bouncing reticle crosshair systems I haven't encountered in another FPS. Some people are like, this is wonderful, some people think it is absolutely disgusting. Then you get these new enemies that jump around, leap, and are programmed to specifically leap out of the way of the crosshairs the moment the crosshairs is on them. And so this whole bouncing reticle suddenly becomes pointless, because you're creating enemies that are moving faster than other games have. So now you're creating a basis where you have to pay attention to how your character is moving, where the crosshair is aligned, if the bouncing circle is lined up or not, and the enemy behind everything is zigzagging and jumping out of the way. Milliseconds. Maybe this game really is designed specifically for people who play PC and everybody else who uses a controller can get bent. But the fact of the matter is, Helldivers 2 is a wonderful game. It's really empowering, it's really enjoyable, but it misses every mark in the idea of falling into a niche. I truly believe if the studio wants to save everything, when the Xbox players get released as of August whenever, what needs to happen is everything that's been programmed and created needs to be released as a whole. And maybe, since there's these weekly active missions, what it should be is Monday the mission is announced, Friday, the mission is over. Saturday and Sunday, the entirety of the galactic map that is programmed, you can jump to it and just play. I don't care if the plot line is at Malevelon Creek or not. I'd like to be able to jump online on a Saturday, jump to my favorite biome, and sure, I'm playing bots and fabricators and programming that's 7 months old, but I'm still playing a part of the game that I did enjoy. Oh, and the new cities. The new cities are really, really cool, but for the love of everything, please make them a subcategory. I am tired of opening up a planetary body, hovering over the city, hitting the quick join button, and all of a sudden I'm just in a void space map from the beginning of the game. I want to play in the new cities. I don't understand why I open up a mission possibility and the whole quick play thing vanishes. If I open up the possibility of a mission, I should be able to go to that mission selective capability, hit the quick play button, and suddenly it's looking for that type of mission to put me in. I like launching the ICBMs. I don't like hunting for all of the bug eggs. I really, really enjoyed finding the resource supply caches for the bots and blowing those things up. I really, really am getting tired of the well, actually, no, that's not true statement. The convoys are amazing. I love the convoys of the Striders. I don't like going into bot battles where it's, oh, run over to this location, blow it up. And it's like, okay, so do I blow up this carrier, that carrier, this carrier, that carrier? They're all in a distance where I can only hellbomb one of them. Which one is it? Because I know only one of them activates the objective completion. Everything else is just something for me to blow up in the name of my own entertainment. I don't want to. I want to complete the objective. That's it. That's it. Solo play. Solo play doesn't exist anymore. That's what it was. That's what it was that I wanted to include. Solo play doesn't fucking exist anymore in this game. Excuse my language. Don't excuse my language. Hold me accountable for my language. It's fucking bullshit that I can't solo level 4 anymore. I loved, it's a casual. I've seen the streamers and the YouTubers be like, oh, look at my level 10 Hellion bug battle. I'm an amazing soloist. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm currently sitting in a car waiting for a DoorDash delivery. I am not that hardcore of a player, and the fact that 1 to 9 is now just spawn rate and not stat changes irritates the shit out of me. When you activate a level 1 mission, there should be a sub-menu that allows you to turn on and off cheats. When the game launched, there were all these people doing data pack hacking and telling the server that they were compiling something that didn't have, like, the server wasn't going to recommunicate with your platform app, your PlayStation or your PC or whatever it is that you're playing on, to be able to secondary validate this. It was just going to complete it. So you could, in the first 4 months of this game existing, you could have a pack hacking application that would send codes activating stratagems over and 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 over again. That was pretty cool. It was pretty cool gameplay footage. Pretty cool gameplay moments. But the fact of the matter is, that was hacking. Something that was not designed for the game to be capable of doing. But I have really, really believed the idea of, like, you should be able to go to level 1, check a checkbox, and every stratagem is active. You just can't push your bumper and see the arrows. So if you remember what the arrow combination is for the stratagem, you can call down whatever stratagem you want. Just when you push the button, there's not going to be a menu showing you all of your arrow keys. It's just going to say all active. There should be a level setting where you should be able to go to level 1 and click a checkbox that says, you know, 1 skull insta-kill. And so if you get a headshot, whatever you headshot dies immediately. You should be able to go to level 1 and you should be able to tell it to put it at level 9 difficulty, but you're able to spam stratagems with no cooldowns. Yeah? You get me? You get me. You get me. You totally understand the statement and why it is that I made this video suddenly, don't you? The principle of what Helldivers is and what Arrowhead Studios has created with Helldivers 2 is amazing. If it was all turned on. If it was all turned on and turn offable casually, nothing would be able to stop this game from getting awards. Nothing would be, everybody would want a copy of Helldivers. Especially if it was $30. If it was 30 bucks instead of 40, if it was 20, I'm homeless in a car. If it was 20, everybody would be able to buy it. But it's 40 bucks. Not everyone can afford a $40 game. I have a massive gaming library. I literally had to debate with myself for 2 weeks, validating the purchase of Helldivers or not. It was worth it. But I wholeheartedly believe that if level 1 had an options menu... You walk in, come into your ship, there's a computer to your left, you walk into the hallway, your arsenal is to your left, and to the right is what's supposed to be the guild and clan system, and that computer console. Put it in there. Put in that computer console the option to be able to turn on and off what level, so you have to go to level 1, and then going to level 1 activates the settings in this terminal console. And so in the terminal console, you can change the spawn rate to be level 1 or level 9. You can set if your stratagems are going to be able to be rampantly called in or not rampantly called in. You're going to be able to turn on and off. If you can see the arrows when you open up the stratagem menu, you're going to be able to turn on and off certain aspects of spawn rates. You're going to be able to turn on and off insta-headshot deaths. I still don't understand why there's an auto-aim gun now. Not this recently released Warbond, but the last Warbond, apparently there is a gun that will now auto-aim for you. I have played the first-person shooter, and I was part of the beta testing for that first-person shooter, where that gun specifically ruined that game. Like, you should not have an auto-aim gun in a first-person shooter in any way, shape, or form. Maybe nerf it, change it so it no longer auto-aims, and just shoots a MAC round. Maybe have, a handgun autocannon. That's scary. With 6 rounds. Oh, another route of delivery. Oh, Guadalupe. Oh, okay, I'm driving across multiple towns, but at least I'm making $15 holler. Alright, I'm gonna think about a little bit more, figuring out exactly what else I want to include in this. I'm pretty sure I'm done, though. Yeah, I really love... Alright, there's 3 orders. Alright, there's my order rate. I really do love Helldivers 2. I've really enjoyed it. If you watch this video all the way to completion, I really do believe it is worth the $40 to the accessibility of the game. It's not really worth buying any of the war bonds anymore. It's really not. Democratic Detonation, and there's one other war bond that specifically gets you, because Democratic Detonation gets you long-range rifle grenade detonator, which is a gun with a projectile that explodes as a shrapnel blast, and it's wonderful for distance clearing. And then the ultimatum is in the same is in the war bond with the hell bomb backpack. That's it. Democratic Detonation and the war bond with the hell bomb backpack. Those are the 2 war bonds that you truly need to be able to have a splashingly explosive good time. Everything else is just aesthetic fluff, and specifically, like, you don't even have a war bond specifically for snipers and stealth players. You have a war bond for people who like flamethrowers, you have a war bond for people who like green acid blasts, and everything else is just mix and match fluff. Some really nice car designs too. Alright, I'll be back here in a minute, possibly not. So, in finality of my odd little Helldivers Hellwhiners review, I've given it some thought. I think I've covered most everything. I really was shocked by how good the vehicle mechanics and programming was, like day 1 of the vehicle release for the light armored reconnaissance vehicle. And I was really impressed with a few other tidbits and parts. But the one thing, I do have moments of, oh my goodness, stop bopping around like a feisty little tripod. The one thing that I do, fucking A, man. Now it'll stop moving with every tiny vibration. There's a lot of tidbit and small things that Arrowhead popped out on release that had no flaws. Different patches, different parts, different bits outright impressive. Sorry, I'm just pissed. So, yeah, the only thing that I really have to complain about Helldivers is the fact that at any given point in time, example, right now, you can do this a month from now, a year from now. It has been the exact same rule for the last year and a half of this game existing. Today is Friday, July 18th. It is 3:41 p.m. Only 1/4 of the video game is accessible. And it just annoys the shit out of me so much as to how it's, oh well, we're a live service, productive lore video game. You know, things have to change in the name of everyone feeling engaged. So, during the Terminid Gloom plot point, where there's a Terminid mutation, it was go down to the Terminid planets and activate these sterilizer machines. And you go down and you fight the enemy and you try to survive against hordes of alien bugs. And then you get to this machine, you push some buttons, activate some consoles, and these 3 pylons above you activate, begin venting atmospheric gas, and then you get to extraction. That doesn't exist anymore. There was plotline points of the Illuminate beginning to evolve. Sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. The programming is still there. The size of my game hasn't gone down. To the point that one of my consoles is giving me a report that it can't update anymore because it's now full of data, and I'm not deleting my other free time game just so my second player console can play Helldivers. There's pieces and bits of the game that are no longer accessible because these programmed objects were made specifically for moving forward plot so many months ago. And now these missions aren't a logical objective to exist anymore in the game. But the developers, the programmers, still went through all of the effort of creating these aspects of gameplay. And again, you're moving away from the niche of the aspect of an arcade first-person shooter when you go, okay, the plot point here is done, time to delete this content. And adjust the tripod one more time. And so I just find it a little detrimental to the development of the community behind Helldivers 2, as well as, why are you paying people to make this programming if this programming is only going to be accessible for 2 months and then it's basically gone? I don't mind playing Terminid maps, going to activate some neuralization gas that is supposed to be able to slow down the development of bugs. I understand the whole, oh, well, we already did this before in the plot line, and that really turned out badly for us, so maybe the game master is trying to develop another expansion of bugs. It's like, no. Like, sincerely, I believe the community will fully understand Arrowhead Studios going, hey guys, just letting you all know, we're making all of this accessible so you have more gameplay to be able to fit within the niche of arcade first-person shooter. I don't know. That's my logic. Anyhow, I really enjoy Helldivers. I wouldn't bother making a review video in the middle of my workday while being fed off with traffic and other aspects of life if it wasn't for the fact that I care for this. I do. Helldivers is a very disturbingly interesting breath of fresh air in an aspect of, you know, most video games you pay for just a part of accessibility, and then, you know, you get to play the same thing over and 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 over, and the player variability is the interesting part. With Helldivers 2, you know, it's understood, but there's only some, what is it, wow, there's 14 maps. Each map is used for Illuminate bugs and the automatons. So there's only like 14 maps. There's only like 23 ways each of these maps to be programmed. We all know what the Super Sample Rock looks like. Super Sample Cock Rock! And there's aspects of this game that are obviously going to be occurring over and over and over and over and over again. The thing that's awesome about Helldivers, though, is the fact that the enemies are programmed to be the random number variable that changes. The enemy is supposed to be the random object that jumps sideways. The enemy is supposed to be the thing that spews acid in a strange direction. The enemy is supposed to be the random variable that changes to be able to make this a unique experience with every different gameplay, even though you're on the same exact map with the same exact objectives, the same exact locations, and the same exact placements, over and over and over and over and over again. I just wish for single player actually functioned more properly. I would like for the players to understand how to put themselves in private mode or not, because I'm very tired of going to level 2 and level 3 and reinforcing people doing currency farming and resource farming, and then I go to do the objective and they boot me, and I'm like, what? And then here's the chat box. Yeah, I'm just resource farming. I'm just resource farming. Stop going and doing things and actually fulfilling objectives. I'm just resource farming. I'm just resource farming. And then there's the mature people who, like, you know, I go do the objective, run around, this, that, the other, and I'm like, are we extracting? And they're like, oh no, just resource farming. And then we go just, I got last object. And then, boop, right back to their hangar. And I'm like, cool, thanks, let's go for another run. And then, you know, I can tag along with their resource farm because I'm still getting to play the game, even though they don't plan on actually extracting. And then there's those situations and moments where, you know, clusterfuck upon clusterfuck upon clusterfuck. Oh, we're having a good time! And those are great experiences. Those really are. It's just fully being aware of the fact that there's parts of the things that have already been programmed by the developers that is no longer accessible in the name of the plot. It's not how an arcade game works. And there's certain parts of aspects that the studio does, like empowers and de-empowers at whim, that just doesn't make sense as a capitalistic company. Other than that, for the most part, I spent my money on it. Might as well as enjoy it. Currently, I enjoy it for about 3 hours a week, because, you know, I don't always have an entire hour to blow through. And when I do, 50% of the time, the people that I'm reinforcing don't actually want to put effort into communication. Until it's the end of the game, and suddenly everyone turns on voice chat to say good game. I don't know. But this is the end of my Helldivers Hellwhiners review. If you have the money to buy Helldivers 1, go buy Helldivers 1. I have no qualms whatsoever. It's such a good game. It's so fun. It is amazing. It's not exactly designed to be a one-player game, but you can definitely play it up to level 4 one-player. You can't do that with Helldivers 2 now, and it really sucks. But thank you for watching, thank you for viewing. If you got this far, awesome, cool. Don't bother with a like and subscribe, specifically because I don't have any of my infrastructure built. I still have to build my Patreon. I still have to bother with half of the things that actually take the idea of content creation seriously. But I just really wanted to make the Helldivers Hellwhiners review video because it's been on my mind for about 4 months now. The idea of presenting this has been on my mind for about 4 months now. It is a great game. It is fun. It is wonderful. I just really wish it was fucking accessible. I just wish that, you know, you could turn on and off Slaughterfest. I wish you could turn on and off certain aspects of stratagem accessibility. I just wish there was more flexibility with the principle of what this game is, as opposed to just being handed whatever the game master wants to give you at a set hour, to the point of 1/4 of the game is accessible right now. Because the plot. And again, that's a statement of 1/4 of the maps, 1/4 of the accessibility tools, and 1/4 of the idea of everything that has been programmed and is currently in the game is turned on. You know, all of the everything for Illuminate invading Super Earth still exists right now, but you can't go to Super Earth and turn on the Illuminate maps to be able to enjoy the Illuminate map because of the plot. Do you know how cool it would be if every Saturday you could? You know, Monday to Friday, you're playing in plot, in lore, in storyline, everybody is getting things forward. At the end of it, Joel gets to come on, or John, or whatever the game master's name is, Eric? I don't know. Anyhow, the dude who's the game master gets to come forward and go, oh yeah, well done everybody, alright, that's a whole week of gameplay, I beat you, neener, neener, neener. And then, you know, for the weekend, everybody gets to go play whatever map, rule set, and plot line that they want to, in the name of enjoyment. Anyhow, that'd be cool. That's my wishful thinking. Not gonna happen. Overall, as a whole, Helldivers is a great game. Great franchise. Really, really, really fun joke on itself. Hooray for space racism. And what was the other bit? I just thought of a good punchline. Like in this video log. But, oh well. Alright, thanks for watching. Great day. And, bye Helldivers. Hopefully it will evolve to the point of being ridiculously accessible and really, really nice at all times. But that's just being hopeful. Alright. Cheers.